The death of Brittany Murphy raised a lot of eyebrows when it happened in 2009, and we have a theory about the whereabouts, the whys, and how it all took place. It's a conspiracy. Just want to make sure we're upfront about that. It is a conspiracy. But I think with all the recent activities that are around a certain individual in court right now by the name of Sean Puffy Combs, I think it's about time we bring up our theory to the surface. Brittany Murphy died in 2009 due to some very odd circumstances. They said pneumonia. They said all kinds of maybe poisoning and a whole bunch of other reasons that they said drugs were involved and she had already had some abuse prior to. But her family came forward and said that's never the case. It was never that. But she didn't have any issues with drugs. Around 2000, she started looking a little bit different, but her family kept denying it. The coroner's report said that her death was due to acute pneumonia and severe anemia. Now, when you look at pictures of her, you can definitely tell that something had changed. When she had did that movie with Eminem, she did start looking a whole lot more emaciated than she had ever been in any of her movies. She started to date a whole bunch of people that were seemingly very sporadic, from 4 months here, 2 months here, 5 months, a couple of years, and then eventually she got married to a man named Simon Monjack, and they remained married for quite some time until her death in 2009, and subsequently his death a few months later in 2010. Now, where our conspiracy comes in is the affiliations that she had while she was alive. Here is the biggest issue that we saw and that really raised the red flag for us. Brittany Murphy had a lot of commercial success, and she was trying to do a career in both acting and in music. The affiliation she had, especially in the music arena, was with one Sean Puffy Combs. She had been pictured quite a few times with him. And eventually she ran into another individual in 2002 by the name of Ashton Kutcher. Now, you know that Ashton Kutcher has a relationship with Diddy and has been to quite a few of his white parties. Now, the relationship between the three of them is where we want to kind of focus our attention. Not necessarily to point a finger and to blame, but to try and ask questions about maybe, perhaps there might be a link. We'll focus first on Mr. Kutcher. Now, he had come forward to the Senate and to a bunch of the people in politics to talk about trafficking at one point. And he had been talking and trying to be an advocate for this. Later to find out that he actually was part of the whole circle. So we're gonna use that as our catalyst. He'd been to a few of the Diddy parties and is actually on video in them having quite a grand old time, including swinging from a couple of these white cloth things over a pool and hanging out with Diddy, having the most amazing time. And he was even there the time that Diddy announced from the balcony at one point saying, the party with the kids are over. Now we're going to have to send the kids off to bed when adults are going to get together and have that. He was at that particular party too. So we started to think, what if when he got his affiliation and hooked up with Miss Murphy, and knowing that she had her affiliations with Diddy, was there something that transpired between the three that may have caused some sort of a rift, an unheard of rift, that may have pushed one or both of them, meaning Diddy and Ashton, to start a chain of events to remove Brittany from the land of the living? Now, again, conspiracy, and we do understand that a lot of this stuff may or may not make sense, and it not necessarily may be one that you can prove. But we'll show you the links that we found. During the time of her affiliations with Mr. Kutcher, she had been just about 2 years before is when the first intimations of her look started to change. She started to become a little more emaciated, and she even said that people told her she looks huggable but not doable. That's what, in her words, that's what she said. Of course, she used a different word than doable. She said a lot of people thought that about her because of her physical changes. Now, with that being on her mind, the affiliation that she then had later, even looking worse off with Ashton in 2002, seems a little bit off compared to the fact that he had people like Demi Moore and people like that in his periphery. He had a whole lot of people to pick from. Why Brittany? I mean, it didn't seem make sense. Then you fast forward to the fact that in 2008 and 9 is where she really started to have a lot of personal problems, and but none of the people that she had before were even in her wheelhouse as friends, just her husband. Ironically, her husband died in January of 2010 in almost the exact same way as she did. Many people did not like her husband. They thought he was a liar, thought he was a lech, a cheat, all that kinds of stuff. So he was already disliked from the beginning. Brittany, not so much. Brittany seemed to be the Hollywood Barbie, kind of no one really hated her. She was just there. She had a whole lot of friends, but not really close friends. She made a fair amount of movies, like we said in 8 Miles. That was really one of her most iconic ones. But on the whole, she didn't stand out in Hollywood, nor did she actually blend in. She was just, like I said, kind of there. So why would she if be a target, if anything? Our only link could be the fact that she may have seen or known something of the ilk that we're hearing about now. Could it have been that what she knew about what was happening at these Diddy parties and what she might have known about Ashton could have led people to do something to her nefariously? In the autopsy of her report, they didn't list any real drugs in her system. They said it was iron deficiency. And then in a second one, then it popped up of multiple drug intoxication. So there were some mixed reports as to which one they really had going on. So they have two, one the day after and another one subsequently later. So in a February 2010, this is what they officially listed as the manner of death was accidental and that the cause was pneumonia with secondary factors of severe iron deficiency, anemia, and multiple drug intoxication. The coroner found a range of over the counter and prescription medications in Murphy's system, with the most likely reason being to treat a cold or respiratory infection. You're trying to convince us that a woman that had supposedly this anemia for a long time since 2002, or probably even early in 2000, didn't know how to take a prescription drug? Anyway, these included elevated levels of hydrocodone, which is a narcotic, acetaminophen. Um, she had a bunch of other drugs in her system. Hydrocodone requires a prescription while the others are over the counter. The report observed the possible adverse psychological effects of elevated levels of these medications cannot be discounted, especially in her weakened state. So the theory is this: either she really, 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 really was done with life and she didn't care and she took a whole lot of over the counter medication to end her life, knowing what she was suffering from, including the use of hydrocodone and a bunch of others, or it was forced upon her. Now, when her husband passed, there was a thought process that maybe, just maybe, there was an option that had to do with the house. But this is what it says. In 2010, Murphy's husband and her mother, Sharon Murphy, claimed that she did not have any use of alcohol and that drugs could not have caused her death. But when Monjack was found in 2010 dead at the same exact residence, the coroner's report attributed his death to acute pneumonia and severe anemia. But he was a very large man. He didn't have the same look as Brittany, nor did he have the same reasons to do anything that Brittany did. So why was that? How is it that the same people, that the two different people in the same house had the same result in their autopsy? It was reported that the Los Angeles County Department of Health had considered, hear me out, considered toxic mold in their house as a possible cause for their death. But this was dismissed by the Los Angeles Assistant Chief Coroner Ed Winter, who stated that there were no indicators that mold was a factor. Now, I'm going to harp on that for one very specific reason. No indicators doesn't mean that you don't go and investigate. If there was a thought, do the investigation. It seems almost like they just said, no, that wasn't a factor. Now, can it be manufactured in the home to act as though it was mold? Yeah, you can. Could it possibly be that they had a way to pump some sort of a gas throughout the house to end Brittany Murphy's life and posthumously inject those drugs into her system? Could it be that somebody had a hand, a nefarious hand, in the end of her life because she knew about both Diddy and Ashton Kutcher's involvement in the occult, in the situations with trafficking, in the parties, and possibly even in the trafficking that Diddy is now accused of, that Ashton Kutcher tried to run away from by being an advocate for? Could it be that Brittany Murphy's death was actually a murder And subsequently, her husband, who she may have confided in, ended his life the same way, or quite possibly he knew nothing of, and the same things that were left in the house that ended her eventually took its toll on him. And he passed away in almost the exact same manner, minus the posthumously injected drugs. Again, conspiracy theory, it may not have happened, but the situation surrounding her death and the company that she kept, knowing what we know now, could very well have left her in a very precarious situation and had her in a dangerous situation because she knew too much and may have been one of those people that was coming forward. It's not a one off for celebrity to be coming forward later in life saying, I knew something. Chester Bennington was another one. Don't forget, there are a whole lot of people that were about to come forward with stuff that just happened to just expire. Could Brittany have been one of them? Could it be that she was just so stressed out about what she knew that it forced her to do a whole bunch of things that she would normally not do to herself? And by the end of her life, she may have been ready to come forward and say something, and the powers that be stopped that from taking place. We leave that question to you. You can let us know what your thoughts are on it. If you believe that that could possibly have been a reason for her ending, like we said, everything did not seem to mesh out. There was a lot of questions surrounding it, and the suddenness of it seemed a bit fishy. The people that you're surrounded with sure have a lot of question marks over their heads as well. But whatever your thoughts are, please leave them in the comment section below. We look forward to hearing what your thoughts are on this one.